it's not very important what you choose to do, but it is very important that you're good at whatever you choose to do.
You're replacing Leon Perera, I suppose, in the team. How do you feel about that? Hey everybody, welcome back to yet another episode of Help Desk. I am your host, Drew. It is obviously election season, and on today's episode of Help Desk, we have WP new face Kenneth Tiong. He is set to compete in Aljunied GRC. And you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I was really surprised by how today's interview went. He just turned out to be so different than what I imagined him to be. So, I'm not gonna give it all away. You guys can watch the rest of the episode to see what Kenneth Tiong is like. Okay, I'll guess I'm by myself, so I'll dial up the episode. Kenneth, thank you so much for joining me today.
Pleasure.
It must be such a busy time for you right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy time now.
Yeah, I mean we are recording this just after Easter. Were you working over the Easter weekend?
Once the nomination day was sort of announced, there were no rules anymore, so anything goes.
Flat, straight onto the ground. You know, what kind of hours? What are the hours like nowadays for you? What's your daily schedule like?
There's really no schedule, so I think we're down at whenever we need to be at all times of the night or in the morning or whenever we are needed on the ground. There are also media engagements like this one. We also have to do in like logistics meetings and that sort of stuff. So as you can imagine, it just blends together sort of after a while, one thing after the other.
Yeah, a bit of a blur.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Let's get right into it because I know your time is precious. Why did you decide to join politics?
I think for me, a lot of people that I talk with of my generation, young people, they feel like there are two big things that are going on in the world now. One is, of course, the trade war or increased protectionism, how long that will last. But second thing they feel is that there's a technology revolution. Humanoid robots are going to walk among us. AI is going to change the future of work. Precision medicine is going to cure many cancers and chronic diseases. So it clearly is something profound going on in the 21st century. And but the feeling, the sentiments that I get from Singaporeans is that hey, the future is being built in the world somewhere, but it's not really being built here. So for me, it's very, very important that we build a society where we feel like we can build the best in technology sort of here and make sure that they can align themselves with the technology revolution and they don't have to leave Singapore to pursue a good career sort of in these things. So for me, it's very, very important to bring this back to people here. That's one thing. Second thing is I feel like, for people to be feel comfortable, right, and to take risks and all that, you really do need a stronger social safety net. So I'll say these two things are the main things that motivate me.
Those are the two main causes that push you to join the WP.
There are others, but I think it can be a more compassionate society. But I think roughly speaking, it's about these two or three things.
Nice. Okay, you've been, as we spoke just before we started rolling, you've been volunteering with the WP since 2023. So how did that start? How do you get in touch with the WP? What do you say? What inspires you to even start in the first place?
So I started out first doing house visits with the various teams. I was starting out in East Coast, etc. And after that, I think there was a policy forum that's being held by Mr. Gerald Giam. And so I went for that. And it exposed me to sort of a different side of the party and sort of what they do. I found out, I had not to that point been aware of what the party did in Parliament. Of course, I read about it various on the Facebook page of the WP and all that. But to see how the nuts and bolts of how they come up with their positions, how they discuss it. Gerald and Jamus were basically giving a presentation on what they did for Budget 2023, and I think that was the one in which Gerald raised the point. Hey, how come our NS men don't get cost of living increases for the NS salary? So for me, that was really gratifying to see like all these concerns being brought up, and he did get a policy win like further a few months down the line. So for me, it reinforced my belief that actually, hey, if we put the strongest arguments sort of in Parliament, it really can create change, and not just change like in 2025, but change within the term itself. So from there, I started, getting more involved with the policy team. And then afterwards, I did more sort of work in sort of Bedok Reservoir Punggol with Aljunied, where we was helping with the MPS and doing house visits. And it just showed me the very many different sides of the MP, which is the lawmaking side of things, the representational side of things, where you write MP letters, the municipal side of things. I just felt it's all very, it's quite meaningful. It's all very meaningful. So I thought, okay, this is something that is very, very meaningful to do. Why not give it a shot?
So you were already volunteering with them before you went for that policy?
That's right.
Why were we volunteering with them if you weren't following them in Parliament, if you don't mind me asking?
So I did know what was going on in Parliament on their Facebook page and all that's going on, right? So, but I think this bite-sized synopsis of what goes on in Parliament is like, okay, years in Parliament, we raised up these things. And like, even now, if you go to like the on the ground, not that many people follow Parliament. It's quite a niche sort of thing. You see what comes up in the various news medias, your online alternative medias, but you don't get the full
picture.
The full picture. Yeah. So I think for me, joining the policy team was really it broaden my horizons to see how the sausage is made, so to speak.
Yeah. So that was the start of your involvement deepening with the WP.
That's right.
I suppose. That's right. Okay, interesting. And then, obviously there's a big step to go from that to now, like potentially, I mean, you've been announced as a candidate to actually running in a general election.
That's right.
How did that progression come about?
I think again, it comes back to sort of what you feel strongly about. So I felt strongly that this country is not aligning itself the best it can sort of with these technological trends. It's not there are certain things that are not compassionate enough for certain groups of people. And I just think I feel like these sets of policy choices I have a different point of view from what has been made before.
Yeah.
So I feel like, okay, since my values sort of align with the party in such a way, the belief in strong local enterprise, a belief in empathy and belief in fairness, it's if I'm put in a position to advance these values, then I think it's better for me, better for the party, and I think it will be a stronger. We'll be stronger for it.
How does it work within the party? Do you put your hand up and say like, "Hey, I'm willing to run," or does someone come to you and ask like, "Oh, like, would you be interested in running?" Which one comes first?
Yeah. So for me, obviously, I don't have the full details of how every candidate is selected over the years. For me, it was more like just a conversation with some of the MPs, and along the way, and of course, they do. By working side by side with the MP, they do know what you care about, right? That is the point of going the long hours you spend in MPS, house visits, etc. They on the side, after the chit chat, after the MPS is done, you talk about the issues that you care about, and then you get a sense of whether it is someone that actually has congruent values with the party. So I think that's generally how it happens.
So you spoke earlier about how you wanted to build a society that for young Singaporeans, that there would be everything in place for them to flourish here in Singapore. But there was one thing I noticed that kind of stood out to me, on the WP's page about the different causes that you're passionate about. And that is, you are passionate about reform when it comes to the policies for foreign spouses.
That's right.
That seems like oddly specific, if you don't mind me saying. Like, what's up with that?
Yeah. So I participated in a lot of MPSs over the years, right?
Yeah.
And one of the biggest categories is usually there are two biggest categories. One is usually HDB and issues related to that. But the second thing is always ICA, and that it's about issues about I can't get a LTVP for my wife.
Yes.
Or
okay.
It's very difficult to get my wife sort of over here. I think 1 in 4 Singaporeans are married to a foreign spouse. So I think there are, if you have 8 people in a room, you would have 2 people who are married to a foreign spouse.
Your colleague James, right? His wife
is
from America.
That's right. So for me, I'll just say that they come and they come not just once. They come 4, 5, 6 times and more. And usually it's like a cycle in which they keep applying and they keep getting rejected for LTVP or sort of PR or all those sort of things.
Okay.
And then of course ICA doesn't give you reasons, okay, for why they reject you. They say you've been rejected, and so they have to make their own guesses as to why. So usually, it's about you usually think it's about income, whereas usually the general common wisdom is that you've got to have enough to support this family before we can give you a longer term pass. But in some cases, and actually in quite a few cases, the person has actually tried to increase their income by all means possible. So they may be working 2 jobs. They may work 7 days a week. They may try to rent out like a room in their house, basically doing everything possible, right? So some of these people are quite old, right? Like 50, 60. Some of them actually require their foreign spouse to be a caregiver for them in their twilight years, right? And
these are all kind of situations that you've
yes.
Encountered.
Yes, these are real situations I've encountered.
Yeah.
And to me, this continual cycle where they have to keep applying and there's no real reasons given why they're rejected. It's not a humane. I don't think it's a humane way to deal with this situation.
Okay.
I think we got to be transparent about what our immigration policies mean for them, because every year that they don't have an LTBV for their wife and all that is another year they don't get back. Some of them have gone past their childbearing years, right? So they'll never have children. Some of them are 1 year closer to death, and they don't have their caregiving spouse beside them. So for me, we've got to be a lot more humane about the way we deal with these cases. And I think for me, it's a cause I feel very, very strongly about, and I'm happy to I would be happy to champion it in Parliament.
Okay, let's move on to talk a bit about Aljunied GRC. You're replacing Leon Perera, I suppose, in the team.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
So to walk in Serangoon Ward is to understand what a giant Leon Perera was. So I think the average person understands what Leon did in Parliament. So there are famous clips of him sparring with Shanmugam, and where he does very well, and other moments over the years. But I think what is less noted is also like how deeply he cared about his community. So if you go to Block 223 in Serangoon, right, you'll see a mural. And in Serangoon North Commercial Area, you will also see murals where he engaged the mural artist to sort of beautify the Serangoon neighborhood.
Yeah.
As well, he was deeply involved in civil society, right, deeply involved with various parts of the media. So he was a very, very influential figure in many, many dimensions.
Yeah.
So
sounds like a lot of pressure.
So I think Leon did a very, very good job of on the ground sort of activities and over the years for the party. So for me to fill his shoes, I do realize that it's a task. So for me, I try to keep it in perspective, because I think back to sort of what I feel like I've got to contribute. I think I do have some ideas for that I want to push in Parliament. So ideas about being tech forward, ideas about being compassionate. So it's ultimately not really thinking about how you can fill a Leon Perera size hole, because no one can fill a Leon Perera size hole. You just have to be yourself. And I think if that part goes through, then it will all work out.
Did you have a relationship with him at all? I mean, you joined the party in 2023.
So we overlapped by, I think, 6 or 7 months. But I actually didn't meet Leon in person. So I know Leon mainly by his footsteps and his videos in Parliament.
Okay. I mean, you're joining the Aljunied GRC team. It's as it is right now, it's a team of like really seasoned politicians. All of them have served multiple terms in Parliament, whether that's as a NCMP or as a member for a representative rather for Aljunied GRC. How does it feel to be walking alongside these people that supporters of the opposition would see as heroes.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think it's a real privilege. I think it's not just what they do on the national stage. I think I really appreciate their impact when you see what they do on the day-to-day basis. So, for instance, when Faisal would be at the food distribution and you see how he does things, and they love him, right, in Kaki
Yeah.
Bukit. When you see how Pritam handles like some difficult municipal cases, wow, just like it's really really instructive, and I think these are the things where I feel really privileged to be able to learn from such experienced politicians.
Yeah. Are you into sports at all?
I don't play sports. I do like watching. There is a sport I am quite into at the moment, which is sumo wrestling.
Sumo wrestling.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
I was not expecting that at all. Okay, but I'm trying to think of like a team sport, right? But like you have a team of like veterans who are very experienced. They've won it all. Maybe not all, I guess, in the case of the WP yet, but they're used to winning, and then a young person comes into the team.
Yeah.
It's not always easy for that young person, but I imagine they must have been. Have they given you any advice on how to do this politics thing?
Yeah. They give advice on a constant and regular basis.
Okay.
So I think renewal. I think what if I were to look back to what happened 5 to 10 years ago, renewal is actually what our party did well, right? With Mr. Lau sort of passing the baton to Pritam.
Yes.
And if I think back to, I think that's a great way to do things, because when I think back to other sports, so I watch the football quite a bit.
Okay.
And I've seen teams when they don't renew
That's a
themselves.
normal sport.
Yeah, when they don't renew themselves and they sort of rest on their laurels, then prompts you can sort of keep it going sort of for a while, but then things start going awry. Like I'm thinking of, for instance, Manchester United. I'm not a Manchester United fan at all.
Okay. Do you have a team?
Arsenal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Condolences. That's my scarf over there on the right next to your.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll see about this year's Champions League. I hope springs eternal.
Yeah, exactly.
But Manchester United. So like Sir Alex Ferguson's last season, right? He papered it over so well, right? With Robin van Persie, with Wayne Rooney, and etc. But that season was, I think, where the rot really set in, where he didn't bring in the sort of new blood or that could have rejuvenated the team. And I think that has caused actually a lot of the problems further down the road. Of course, I'm not saying that the other managers, Manchester United managers, didn't have agency to sort of change things further down. But if Sir Alex Ferguson had in that last season sort of brought in more renewal, I think that the problems and maybe some of the managerial changes would not have been so necessary sort of later on. This is just as a third party observer.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. I like this kind of, we obviously like our footballing analogies here at Mothership, because if you watch the interview we did with Jackson and Sylvia, I think we probably pushed the footballing analogy a little bit too far.
Okay.
But if I can do that with you as well, what would you say, metaphorically or analogous, I don't know, what would be the perfect analogy for you coming into this Aljunied team in a footballing sense? Explain it in football terms.
I think it's a 19-year-old debutant going into a team of about, I would say, 28-year-old squad members, 28 to 29. I would say they have still about a good number of years to give, but they clearly had a good number of years behind them.
Okay.
So for me, it's very, very important to sort of be able to pick up and scale up and ramp up fast, so that I can be a contributor to the team, and then make sure that that chain continues.
Yeah. And footballing teams, they always have like these like narratives around them. Like Manchester United is like they used to be good, now they suck. Arsenal, I guess, is like the perennial coming in second. When I was growing up, it was like fourth place was like a trophy for them. If you had to describe the WP as one of these football teams, which football team narrative aligns the most with the WP?
Actually, the analogy that comes to me isn't from the English Premier League at all.
Yeah,
It's actually
please.
Atletico Madrid.
Okay, why is that?
Because it's based on graft. It's based on hard work. There are no superstars, I think. Not we're not based on a star player,
Yeah.
right? But it's based on a system that has been set by a manager who is very, very, very values driven. And yeah, there's a system that just makes sort of these different parts of it work. So it's not your Real Madrid where you have the Galacticos. It's not Barcelona where you play like a super free-flowing form of football. But it's about hard work and just
A lot of discipline.
Yeah. So I hope, we will better Atletico and get the Champions League. But
Yeah. All the best in that regard. Okay, wait. I haven't forgotten about the sumo thing. I definitely want to come back to that.
Sure.
But before we move on from the Aljunied thing, right? I'm curious to know, of your colleagues in the Aljunied team, we've got some rapid fire kind of thing. So
Sure.
I'll give you I'll ask you a question, and then the first name that comes to mind,
Sure.
you give it to me.
So first what? Name?
The first name that comes to mind from your Aljunied colleagues.
Okay.
You can, yeah. So who's the most humorous in the Aljunied team?
Sylvia.
Okay. Who's the most serious?
Gerald.
First person you think of when you want to go out for a drink?
Pritam.
Person with the best food recommendations. Don't include yourself. I know you're a big foodie.
I haven't tested this out for them, so I will skip this question.
How about person whose music recommendations you would trust the least?
I only have one name left, so but it's not really Faisal. but I don't know.
Okay, so not Faisal is
No.
your answer.
It's just because music is not something we really discuss, right?
Okay, the team's not like getting pumped up in a room listening to I don't know that Chinese song that the WP love.
Oh,
You know which one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. No,
What's the name of that song? Yeah, I Piao Jiang, whatever. I'll embarrass myself trying to pronounce it. They're laughing at me off camera.
Yeah.
Can you sing that song? I'm not gonna ask you to sing it, but I'm just wondering if you know the lyrics.
I do not. I will learn. I will have to learn it.
I think you have to learn.
Yes.
I think you
yes.
have to learn.
Yeah.
I think if you pull it out at a rally,
Yeah.
man, that could get the crowd going.
Yeah.
Probably like imagine like all five of you singing the songs, taking turn. I think that could win you.
Actually, Sylvia does sing quite a bit,
Yes.
and she is a very, very good singer. So I think Sylvia probably, and Pritam does sing occasionally. So yes, I think I think we much to learn from them.
How's your singing?
It's okay. It's okay. I mean I still trying to figure out how to project from my diaphragm, but I'm sure getting used to these things.
Yeah. But would you feel comfortable singing in front of a crowd? Like, let's say you had to do it at a rally or some sort of like
I would do
dinner.
I would do what I need to do, but right now I don't have that experience. But
Okay.
if I need to do it, then yeah.
Okay. My advice: I'm a terrible singer,
Yeah.
but there have been times where I've been like saboed to sing in front of people.
Okay.
Just make it a humorous thing. That's
Okay.
my advice.
Okay.
But that's if you're not confident as a singer. I'm definitely not. I know my limitations when it comes to vocal prowess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to speak a bit about. I was curious about your formative years.
Yeah.
Right. Where did you grow up in Singapore?
I grew up in Bedok, so I've grown up in various parts of Bedok. I've lived in sort of Bedok North, Bedok Reservoir, Simpang Bedok. So yeah, Bedok is and the broader East Coast sort of area is very familiar to me.
Okay. And what were your early memories of like politics in Singapore, if you recall any?
Well, Lee Kuan Yew is always taught. I mean, in school, social studies and all that, Lee Kuan Yew is always a formative figure. So of course, when we start learning this, all the 1965, post-1965 stuff, I would say for me, I learned about the more about the other political parties sort of in the, late 1990s, early 2000s. This was when I was 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And it was just understanding that, actually there's quite a degree of contestation. I just remember there's 1997, Cheng San almost lost. Quite interesting. But it was not very top of mind sort of for me. I think for me, I did not grow up as a very political person.
Okay.
So for me, I always tracked all these things as more like these are current affairs. You know, it's good for any citizen of any country to just be up to date on these sort of things.
Yeah. When did that kind of political awareness start to develop?
I would say it developed probably in my 20s and probably and intensified probably in my early 30s. And I think it just comes from a sense that I'm not. I think I am not driven by personality politics, right?
Okay.
I just it's more like a sense over the years that the policies are not really working for at least for what you want, what you think should be happening.
Yeah.
And so over the years, it's like, okay, you encounter the the economic dynamism. Maybe you're not as economically dynamic as we should be.
Yes.
Maybe you're not as inventive as we should be. Why is that the case? Singaporeans, I grew up with a lot of brilliant Singaporeans. What's the missing ingredient? What then coming into contact with the sort of the LTVP issue, right? Like,
Yeah.
to me, that was that just was not was not in my moral compass. It's a different direction from my moral compass, and just various issues over the years where I just felt we can do better. I guess for me it stems a lot from where I feel policy directions can be different.
Okay.
And so that's why I sort of become more political.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Would you say? I mean, it's a term that's been bandied around in the US, because Donald Trump is clearly not this kind of person. But would you call yourself like a policy wonk? Are you familiar with the term? They used it to like as a derogatory thing against like Hillary Clinton. But I don't think it's a derogatory thing.
I think it depends. Yeah, it depends what you mean by policy wrong. So I don't think policy is something you should debate for its own sake, right? So for me, it starts out with values. It starts out with what you believe should be the ethos of the directions in this country.
Yeah.
Like, so for example, being more innovative, being more compassionate, being more fair. If you become a wonk in policy or you become an expert in policy because you need to have these arguments to have a debate about these things, to change people's minds, to persuade other people.
Yeah.
But I don't think being a policy wonk in itself is my cup of tea or not what I set out to do. For me, it's about first discovering what the values are and having the policy evidence or arguments for or against to be able to ultimately decide whether you can justify your position or not.
Moving on from Singapore, you went to university in the US. You went to Brown University. Tell me about your time there. Was it fun? Do you have treasured memories from your time in the US?
I'm a big music fan, so for me,
that's why you won't take anyone's recommendations.
Well, Spotify is now trying to use their AI to recommend all this stuff to me. I have no idea what half these things on Spotify are, but so for me, going to US is just a really big music scene, right? So I was in the middle of Boston and New York, and I just got to see so many different acts. Like,
what kind of bands are you into?
I saw the gamut. So like there was Radiohead, there was Leonard Cohen, a metalcore band called Converge, extremely good. Godspeed You Black Emperor, post-rock.
Oh, I love Godspeed.
Yeah. And this was when they came back. Everyone thought they were dead, like after Young Kid UXO, which is their 2003 album. And they came back with their next album, and so that was like the phoenix rising from the ashes.
There's like no one in Singapore knows what we're talking about. No one who's watching this will know what we're talking about. But yes, okay, I know what you're talking about. Oh, that's amazing.
That was an amazing show, and like various electronic things. I remember going to see a progressive rock band that I love, Pain of Salvation, in New York, and just there are 100 others I've forgotten, like Sleigh Bells, Beach House, and various festivals around the country.
Did you do much studying when you were at university?
No, the studying was so that you could see the bands.
Yeah.
So you got to keep up your grades in order to see the bands.
I mean, Lawrence Wong has that famous, his famous anecdote about he goes there, he meets his roommate who's a cowboy, and then they go busking together and whatnot. Did you do anything out of the ordinary when you were studying in the US?
I would say I see the great thing about studying in the US is just you can do whatever you want. So it's really up to you. If you want to go and see bands, if you want to do a food tour, if you want to go and see what Southern barbecue is like, you can do that. It's pretty chill. If you want to be the best medieval historian you can, which I know some people ended up doing, you can do that. You can be in the library and do your studies. If you want to be an entrepreneur, go to Silicon Valley, you can sort of do that. And so for me, it was just, I think it's a big market, it's a big country. And I think for me, I would like to bring a lot more of that ethos sort of back to Singapore.
Okay.
So
what ethos specifically?
The ethos that, you can do, your university years are sort of for experimentation, or your early 20s sort of are for sort of experimentation. I also like to bring, a few more bands to Singapore. I think the bands that we have, Taylor Swift and Lady Gaga. No, I think they're great acts. Don't get me wrong.
You don't want to say anything about Taylor
No,
Swift.
I'm not going to say anything bad about them. But what I think is that there are a lot of these medium-sized acts, right?
Okay.
That we can sort of bring more into Singapore. For example, when I look at the touring list of some of my favorite bands of the moment, and I see that they usually play like Japan, they usually play Australia. So on their way to Japan and Australia, maybe you should get more of these medium-sized acts.
Yeah.
Sort of here. Yeah.
Let's say you make it into Parliament. If he's still MCCY minister, Edwin Tong comes to you. He's like, Kenneth, I heard you're really into music.
Yeah.
What's the next band I should bring into Singapore? Who will you recommend?
You should bring Caroline Polachek. You should bring Jockstrap. You should bring. No one knows these names.
Yeah, I'm slightly lost.
Okay, sorry. Let's start.
Who are
again.
you going to bring in that will help you win votes? Actually,
Whoever. Okay.
Make your pitch to the young Singaporeans who love live music.
No, I'm just gonna lose votes here because I'm just gonna say names that are completely out of touch. So I won't.
Dream act that you haven't seen yet, but you want to see before you pass on.
So there's this 1970s krautrock rock band called Magma.
Krautrock band, a German rock band.
Yeah, they were very good. And I believe they've been reconstituted. They're based in France or Germany now. So they're called Magma, and I would like to see them once before I pass on. Yeah.
Wow, you're a man of like very esoteric interests. I don't know if that's the right word, but esoteric interest. Wow. Okay. And then sumo wrestling, you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah,
I can't let that pass without asking about that. How does one get into sumo wrestling?
You start watching YouTube videos of sumo wrestlers, and then I think what I like about it is that there's a really formal structure, and I think a lot of people, you may agree or disagree with it, but the beauty of having such a formal rules of promotion, demotion after every tournament, they call a tournament a U-show, is that you sort of know where sort of everyone stands, and only the best of the best end up being the top two ranks, which is Ozeki and Yokozuna.
Yeah. Okay. So the slate of WP new faces have been revealed over the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Of all your new face colleagues, who would be the best at sumo wrestling?
I think there are people with different strengths, right? So
Yes.
I think Harpreet would be very, very strong at sort of coming up with an unexpected solution to a bout.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that they are those with very, very strong sort of ways to solve a bout. Maybe in a more straightforward way. I think there are a few others, but they would also have a very strong winning record. So I think all of them would have very very different ways of solving the bout. Yeah.
So diplomatic of you. So diplomatic of you. Okay, Harpreet. Yeah. And then when he wins the bout, he'll bust out the saxophone and he'll play something on the saxophone. I could imagine that.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, you do, like, as you mentioned, you do have a lot of varied interests. I want to talk about your interest in food.
Sure.
Because you famously used to run a food blog. Right? It's your own blog that you used to write on. I browsed, I perused it a little bit yesterday. How did that start? I mean, where does this interest in food stem from?
I've always been interested in food. So my parents they really respected cooking a lot. So
they cook at home a lot?
They cook at home a lot, yeah. And so in my childhood, we would go sort of all around the island to try different types of food, right? So like nasi lemak,
Okay.
roti prata, dim sum. So I grew up with, I was very lucky to have such parents. So I grew up with a very sort of, maybe I had a wide knowledge memory bank of things to call upon. So
Yeah.
for me, I wanted to sort of see what it was like, just also in Singapore, but also sort of around the world. So every time I go somewhere, I would like to just try the local cuisine, just to see what is good there. And it ranges from street food to their some of the nice restaurants.
Yeah.
And I just for my own opinion of what was good. I do hope to sort of I eventually use some of these ideas in some of these dinner parties when I.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like the ones in like the community events and things like that. Are those the kind of dinner parties you're
No,
talking
dinner
about?
parties where I cook.
Oh, I see. Oh, like
Yeah,
for
yeah.
like in your own personal.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you cook much yourself?
I cook a bit. I don't have as much time as I used to, but
Yes.
I do cook a bit.
What's your specialty? What's the house special?
I cook quite a nice nasi lemak. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. Okay, what do you think the secret to a good nasi lemak is? What must you get right?
Putting a lot of coconut inside the rice.
Okay.
That is the most important thing. Also, but also deep frying your stuff a la minute. So that is, and making sure that you don't over fry your chicken.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Recommendations for food in Aljunied GRC? Bonus points if it's in the Serangoon division, obviously.
Well, the thing about food is that it's very polarizing.
Yeah.
You say one thing, right, and then you piss off 3 other people. So now I've transitioned out of being a food critic and into a politician. So I will, with your permission, skip that question.
Okay. No, I respect that. Okay, how about one meal that if you were forced to eat that one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Wonton noodles.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
what makes a good good plate of wonton noodles?
I'll say this because I think this is not an Aljunied GRC, so I'm not going to step on any toes. But there's this really good wonton noodles at Empress Place called Wing's Wonton Noodles.
Okay.
And they are, the husband and wife are, I believe, immigrants from Hong Kong. And they do it in... They have the Hong Kong style sui jiao style wonton where it's very, very firm and bouncy, the prawns. But they put it with the green chili and the soy sauce and the red chili that is more characteristic of our wonton noodles. So it's a very interesting cultural blend of like the Hong Kong style and the Singapore style wonton noodles. I really enjoyed that. So when I was based in the West for a while, I think almost every opportunity I would get, I would like literally go there.
Wow, okay.
During lunchtime, there would be a crowd of like 15 people. So sometimes it was just not possible to get my wonton noodles.
What's the place again?
Wing's Wonton Noodles at Empress Place.
Okay. People can take note of that.
Yeah.
I know you said you weren't a food critic, but we have some food from our canteen here at work. We wanted to get your review on it. Just a quick taste test. Would you humor us for that?
Sure.
Yeah? We won't have to say where it is, so you don't have to offend anybody. But let's get that here.
So
Talk us through like what your
chicken's moist. Skin's tasty.
How's the rice?
Could use a bit more chicken fat.
This is the kind of insight that we were hoping to get from a connoisseur. I don't usually get the braised egg. It's past my budget.
Quite good. I like the chili as well.
Okay, so would you come back and eat at this chicken rice stall? I mean, we don't know which one it is, but is this worthy?
Yeah, I think it's quite a good and decent chicken rice.
Yeah. Rate it out of 10.
7.5.
Not bad. That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for humoring us and doing that for us, Kenneth. So, Kenneth, this is an advice show. We do get listeners and viewers who write in with different problems that they might be facing. In fact, they write into us at a link that's appearing on your screen right now. If you have a problem, some sort of life decision that you are facing, either big or small, trivial, or like the biggest decision of your life, you can write into us at that link that's on your screen right now. You can find that exact same link in our show description. And we might get someone like future Aljunied GRC MP Kenneth Tiong to...
Nothing's decided until nomination.
Nothing's decided, of course,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, to answer your question. Okay, are you ready for it? Here we go. This card is for you. Would you do us the honors of reading the first question? I believe is from Gabriel.
So Gabriel says, how do I juggle between family and work? Work is so stressful and draining. I come home with very little energy to interact with my family members at night. Home just feels like a place I sleep in, not a place that is warm and cozy. Sad face. Is it normal to feel burnt out as a young adult?
What do you think? Is this something that you can relate to at all?
Yeah, I definitely can. There have been points in my career where I've been burnt out as a management consultant and when I was working in buy-side sort of finance. Having gone through a few of these episodes, what I would say is that when you are burnt out, you've got to take a break. There's no other cure for it. So the only question becomes, how do you take a break? And I think you've got to just be upfront with your work and or your family members and to see how they can relieve you of some of your responsibilities. Because working when you're burnt out is just not productive for anyone. You're not as productive as you can be at work. You're not a good family member. You're not as good a family member as you could be. Yeah, just take care of your health. Once you feel the warning signs come on, don't ignore it. Just take a break.
Yeah, I mean, the role of an MP is like pretty full on.
Yeah.
Are you worried at all about experiencing burnout, or I don't know, how are you managing your energy?
I do recognize that there will be periods where I will burn out, and I think burnout is going to be a part of any job that goes at a fast pace. The only question is what happens when that feeling starts to set in, and I'm very confident, that there will be a support structure or the party will be supportive when that time comes. Where, say I just say, okay, I need a break for X number of days just to recharge, and I think it's. It wouldn't be a problem with the party. We recognize that these things happen. This is part of being human.
Yeah. The other part about Gabriel's question, right? He writes, I come home with very little energy to interact with my family members at night. Home just feels like a place I sleep in, not a place that is warm and cozy, and not a place. I'm guessing not a place that is warm and cozy. You previously spoke about making Singapore a place that young people want to stay at and flourish in. Yes. Let's bring it down to like the micro level in the home. Any advice for how Gabriel can make his home feel more homely, I guess, and not just a place to sleep?
So it seems like Gabriel's situation is that his work takes up a lot of his energy and sort of his mental mind space, right? So for me, just going based on what I read, I think the most important thing is that he has a period of time where he spends less time sort of at work or is not as on the hook for a fast response over email or something. I know what it's like to be on the hook for an email response like almost 24/7, right? So first is to be able to have that conversation sort of with your boss, and that's something the Workers' Party has pushed for, because with flexible work arrangements, we've asked for that to be a right? So and now the government in last year has sort of said that employers must consider flexible work arrangement requests fairly. So, but we do believe that flexible work arrangements are sort of the cornerstone of making sure that everyone has a more holistic work-life balance.
Okay, shall we do the second advice question really quick?
Yeah.
Before you have to go off. This one is from someone named Rolling Thunder 621. I'll read it. I feel as though people are doing so much more than me, and I feel bad for myself and my parents, getting good internships, etc. So I'm just wondering if I gotta keep on hustling to live and sustain my life, Not so much asking for advice, but just want to see what your thoughts on this are. Rolling Thunder 621. I guess it's getting tired of this like hustle and rat race kind of thing.
Yeah. So first thing I would say is that don't feel the pressure to compare yourself with others, because there really isn't one path sort of in life. In fact, it's very important that there doesn't seem to be, because we are all very, very different people. We have different interests. So it is true. That being said, that there is the material things in life do cost a significant sum of money: housing, childcare, the finer things in life, the material things in life. So there's no shame in sort of being able to, in needing, right, to engage in the rat race to do these things. Many people do.
Yeah.
It's a necessity, right, for so many of us. I think it's more important is being able to disengage at meaningful times from the rat race. Not, sometimes if you need to take a break for, say, a month or 2 weeks or whatever,
A sabbatical.
just take it. Try to manage it, of course, smartly, so that it doesn't derail your career if there's a certain career trajectory that you're going to do.
Yeah.
But also, in more longer term sort of things, I'm reminded of sort of what my father said to me, which is, it's not really very important what you choose to do, but it is very important that you are good at what you choose to do.
Okay.
So because that, ultimately, if you do want to sort of exit or maybe the rat race, it's very important that you have a sort of individual characteristic that sort of gives you more options to
Yeah.
do it if you so choose.
Yeah, interesting. Can you that sounded very profound. Can you repeat what your father said to you?
Yeah, it's not very important what you choose to do,
Yeah.
but it is very important that you're good at whatever you choose to do.
Okay, yeah, interesting. I think that's I don't think we've heard that one yet on this show, and we've heard like lots of different advice. I like that one.
Sure. I'll take my word for
Yeah. Okay, so we spoke a bit about taking a break. I mean, earlier in the first question, we spoke about burnout. Kenneth, you've proven yourself throughout this interview to be a man with quite a few unique interests, I would say. What would be your unorthodox holiday recommendation for someone who's in need of a break?
I think Southeast Asia has a lot of islands.
Okay.
And I think you don't need to go to the big ones, right? Like the Phu Quoc in Vietnam, the Bali in Indonesia, or the Langkawis of Malaysia. There are many tropical islands.
Okay.
And I find something that's really relaxing is just being able to go to a random island, in fact, and just take a break, just not take a break, disconnect for 2 or 3 days and recharge from there.
Yeah. Is there one that you've been to that you really enjoyed, that you don't mind sharing?
Keep it a secret.
Okay, smart and wise. Well, Kenneth, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you coming here and talking football with me, talking sumo wrestling with me. All the best for the campaign ahead.
Thanks, Drew.
And thank you to you guys for watching this episode. Thank you to Audio-Technica for powering the audio for this episode. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.